The Delray National AG Hunter Cup is one of harness racing's greatest races, and we're hopefully going to find you the winner of that tonight here on racing.com. Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Phelan. Terrific to have your company, terrific to have with me Adam Hamilton and also Dan Malecki to cover this wonderful event. Adam, to you first, a race steeped in tradition, and champions win this race.
It is the race of champions, isn't it? If you compare it to thoroughbred racing, you're talking about the Cox Plate, really, aren't you? When you look through the honour roll, Pure Steel, Blossom Lady, Gamelite, Popular Arm, Village Kid, Black's a Fake. And of course, in recent years, King of Swing has won 2 of the past 3, but no longer racing.
And Dan, great to have you with us. You've called so many of these great races, and this year, so much intrigue with the barrier draw.
Oh, look, it's exciting every year. Who's going to get in, who's not going to get in, and then the barrier draw itself can turn a 50 to 1 shot into a $7 chance and vice versa. But we saw a copy of that stand up in the Ballarat Cup, and it's the copy that I think we grew and loved, particularly overseas, and that was the best we've seen of him in Victoria, and who knows, we might be able to see the best of him in Melbourne.
Well, to get insight into this race, we thought we'd go to the very top of the tree. No one has won more AG Hunter Cups than this man. Driver Anthony Butt joins us. And it's great to have you with us. And look, it's a really special race, and it's been so special to you. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ryan and guys. Yeah, it's one of those, one of the great races in Australasian harness racing, and awfully hard to win, and you need a great horse. So you just got to look at the honour roll, that who's won it. So, you know, another one will join the list this week.
And Anthony will be driving Rock and Roll Do in the race. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But firstly, let's have a look at the field for Saturday night's AG Hunter Cup. It is an absolute ripper. And Adam, we spoke about it. Barrier 1 with Spirit of St. Louis really threw a cat amongst the pigeons, but there's a lot of speed off that front row and pressure off the back row.
Look, I know we say all the time in harness racing barrier draws are important, but this has breathed even more life into this race with Copy That drawing out there in barrier 6. Does he go forward? Where does he end up? How much work does he do? What does Spirit of St. Louis do from barrier 1? Does he lead early? Does he hold the lead? So many talking points.
Well, let's kick off with number 1, Spirit of St. Louis, Adam, as we go through these runner by runner.
Yeah, so he ran second last year. Wonderful horse. I would say he's been a little up and down in the 12 months since. We actually haven't seen a lot of him. Very disappointing at the business end of the Inter-Dominion, but Team McCarthy have got him back and firing at the right time. He's got gate speed. He's got a wonderful young driver in Jack Callaghan. I think the intent is to try and hold the front from barrier 1, which I think will make things very interesting. I reckon he's right in this, and he's been heavily backed as soon as Marcus went up.
Torrid Saint will go around as a long shot, but he was in the Inter-Dominion Grand Final and he finished second. Key to him is getting to the pegs, and I reckon there's a way he could end up on the pegs here, and that's for him not to be a part of any early speed battle and to ease back behind Hurricane Harley. He mightn't have to ease too much either, so he could end up 3 pegs first turn, potentially 4 pegs if the favourite Copy That works to the lead, and he can get into the placings as a 100 to 1 shot again.
Number 3 is I Cast No Shadow, trained by Jason Grimson to be driven by Jack Trainer. This is the defending ID22 champion. On that occasion, he was able to get an economical run from barrier number 1. I don't see him engaging in that speed battle early, again driven conservatively. Look, he needs to improve on his recent effort in the Ballarat Cup, but we know trainer Jason Grimson is just airborne at the moment, and if there's a trainer that can turn his form around ahead of a big race like this, it's him. I Cast No Shadow, certainly at good each way odds, is a chance.
I'm not sure there's any pacer who's been a greater find over the last 3 or 4 months than Honolulu Bay, number 4. His form through the Inter-Dominion was outstanding. Even though he didn't win the final, it was a great run. He was one of few off-the-marker pegs in that race to still be right there at the finish. And then, if possible, he might have gone to an even higher level with that terrific run for second behind Copy That in the Ballarat Cup. It's an interesting draw. It's not a great draw. There's a lot of speed under him. What does David Moran do from there? Does he press the button? I don't think so. I think he'll come out, just balance up. He might go forward, but I don't think he'll be bustling out early. Can he win it? You bet he can. He's airborne, this horse.
Well, the horse that he just cut out of second placing in the Group 1 Ballarat Cup was Triple Eight, a horse that looked like he might have seen his best. He's run 6th in the last 200 Cups. He ran 6th in the Victoria Cup last year, 666, the number of the beast. He's got the pacing priest on his side, Father Brian Glasheen, so he might work it his way. I think he's a place chance. The draw makes it tough because he doesn't have a lot of gate speed, but it certainly was a much better run last time.
Our favourite is number 6, Copy That, and deservedly so. I am a little surprised. No, I'm more than a little surprised. I'm stunned that his odds have been slashed when he draws out in barrier 6. Ray Green, his trainer, is very happy with 6. He said we get a chance to balance up. We can make our own luck a little bit from there as opposed to drawing the back row. He was tremendous. It was arrogance, absolute arrogance from him at Ballarat. Yes, he got a pretty good run in front, but have a look at driver Blair Orange here. He barely moves on him. He gives him one little flick to keep his mind on the job at the top of the straight, and then it's really just a coast home. There's no horse going better in Australasia than him at the moment. It's a harder field. He'll have to do more work than he did at Ballarat, way more work than he did at Ballarat, but he is still clearly the horse to beat.
And Anthony Butt, you have driven this horse. Let's bring you in here. Copy That. Obviously, I'm sure trainer Ray Green will be delighted with that draw because we've seen him in the past. He's been versatile, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good draw for him, really. He can, keep out of the early hustle and bustle at first sort of 200 or 300 metres, and I think he'll bully his way to the front, and I don't think too many will want to hold him out, and if they do, it'll probably be to their detriment. So, I think it's a pretty good draw for him.
And it's as much as he's had ability right throughout his career, he's a little bit old school. It's probably just now the whole package has come together for Copy That, isn't it? Even when you drove him, he was still, part the way there, 12, 18 months ago.
Yeah, that's right, Adam. He's sort of gone ahead in leaps and bounds. He's always been a classy horse, and as I said, he's had a bit of racing now in the Grand Circuit. Those 2 New Zealand Cup wins were fantastic. And, a couple of trips away when things didn't go right. So I'm sure, he'll be 100% tonight, this week.
Well, completing the front row in the Hunter Cup of 2023 will be Macdan, number 7. Emma Stewart, one of 3 runners for her, was 4th in this race last year, had a terrific Inter-Dominion series throughout the heats, and then 4th in the Ballarat Cup. Last start 2 weeks ago. I just think he's going to need a lot of luck from that draw. He can only be taken off the arm and driven along the pegs and hope for the breaks at the right end. I think Macdan might be up against it in this year's Hunter Cup.
The third of the Emma Stewart trained runners is Hurricane Harley. He found his mojo last week. He got the barrier draw, got a soft enough run, but he ran the time. And a late decision was made to run in this race. I think because he gets the good draw and a peg line draw, he now becomes a chance. But I think that's what he needed. He's back in form. And remember, this is a horse that shared the 2,200 metre track record with Lochinvar Art before Captain Ravishing broke it in the Breeders' Crown. He might have the right gait to be a winning hope.
Number 9, Expensive Ego, or as some people call him, the Expensive Enigma when he comes to Victoria. He's raced 9 times. For how many wins? 1. 1 win in Victoria. He's raced 5 times at Melton for that 1 win as well. But he's such an incredible talent. The team are so happy with him. And I'll tell you what, Luke McCarthy loves this draw. He thinks he's going to trail through well, and we're going to see him driven differently this time. He's usually up there doing the bullocking. Luke said, I really want to give him a chance to run home from off the speed in this race. That's why I love the draw. I reckon he's going to be a major player.
Well, speaking of enigmas, what do we make of Rock and Roll Do? If this is the horse in form like he was in the Victoria Cup, he's absolutely a winning chance. Can we trust him? Let's find out with a 7-time AG Hunter Cup winning driver, Anthony Butt, because if there's a race that Ants, you can weave your magic with a horse that needs magic weaved, it's a Hunter Cup, and with Rock and Roll Do.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. We just got to hope he's back to his best. Mick's really happy with him since Ballarat, and, he just over-raced really badly there and got into a bit of a duel around the first bend, pushing and shoving to hold him a spot, and I think that really just undone him. He pulled really hard after that, and obviously didn't run on. So I think it's a great draw for him. He can just take his time early, keep out of the early bustle, and, then we've got options. We know he can do some work if he has to, and, he doesn't mind sitting on the desk. So, I think, we've got to rely on Mick. He's a great trainer, and, he wouldn't have him in the race unless he was 100% happy with him.
Ants, if you just judge him on his race performances, he's got no chance at all. But scratch beneath the surface, and you can tell us more because you've been driving him in work as well. Mick says he's flying. You say his work's been great. So is it just a matter of him being in the right headspace?
Yeah, definitely, Adam. He's one of those horses that, he hasn't had a lot of, racing, in fields and that kind of thing. He come through the grades really quickly, and he was so dominant that he was always making his own luck. So, in this grade, ability only takes you so far. You've got to have the ring craft as well. So that's why I think the draw's perfect. And, we've got our fingers crossed he's back to his best. And he, all indications are that he is. So, we just got to hope he turns up on the night, relaxes, and, he puts his best foot forward.
Now on to number 11, Cranbourne, who is the first emergency in the race. He will rely on a scratching if he is to get a start. Was the Shepparton Cup winner 2 runs ago. Was pretty disappointing in the Ballarat Cup, it's fair to say. Off that back row draw is going to need a lot to go his way.
I don't think he backed up. That's the word from the stable, but he's going to need luck, isn't he, getting into it? So, Dan, I'm interested in your thoughts on Major Meister. So good. And talk about a horse who unravelled. That's what he did at Ballarat.
Yeah, well, he's not Gamelite, though. He was driven tough, and it's just not the way to drive him. The circumstances led that to happen. I don't think they'll make this mistake again. His performances when he leads, he's got the gate speed. The Cranbourne run was terrific, and obviously the Bendigo run was extraordinary when he was coming with 1 run after being interfered with at the 700 metres. So driven like that, that's where he can turn it around. It wasn't a disappointing run last start. It was just not his racing style. I'm not ruling him out, but who's going to be the right horse to come 3 wide at the 1200 metres to either give him that trail up, or indeed he might have to be that horse that starts the 3 wide line?
And we go to number 13, awful draw for Old Town Road. I actually loved his run at Ballarat. I thought he got to the line well. They made it very clear that it had been a long time between races. They missed a lead-up run when it was scrapped in New Zealand, and that he would improve a stack on that performance at Ballarat. Word from Josh Dickey and the team is that he's trained on beautifully. If you go back to his form, New Zealand Cup run, top shelf. New Zealand free-for-all run, absolutely off the charts big. He's a rising star, but from that draw, he's going to need the race run upside down to be able to win it.
Well, I'm going to get your tips a little bit later in the show for the AG Hunter Cup, but Anthony Butt, while we've got you talking about the Hunter Cup, of course you're driving Rock and Roll Do. Who do you think are the main dangers in the big one on Saturday night?
Oh, I definitely think Copy That's one to beat, especially if he can find the front. He's at his best. He's, probably the best horse in Australasia. So, I think the draw sets up pretty well for him. Honolulu Bay's just been flying, his runs, the last couple of runs have been outstanding. So, again, he's just going to need an ounce of luck. But David Moran, he just drives him beautifully, week in and week out. So he'll get the right run for him. And I guess, Spirit of St. Louis got to step up, but he's got the perfect draw for him. Probably can punch out of the gate. And, I would say he would let, the first good one go that's there. So, he's got to be a chance sitting on the pegs.
Well, Anthony, good luck to you in attempting to win your 8th AG Hunter Cup on Saturday night. But stick around, Anthony, because we're going to be going through the support card, some terrific races, the 4-year-old Bonanza, the Ladyship as well, and also the Great Southern Star, which Anthony Butt will have a strong hand in as well. Stay with us here on racing.com. More winners coming up on a big night, AG Hunter Cup night, right after this.
He's going to be the most talked about horse in harness racing anywhere in Australasia. How about that for a win? Captain Ravishing, we salute you. You are a star. Captain Ravishing won by...
That is the most exciting horse in harness racing right now. Captain Ravishing winning the Breeders' Crown, where he ran 151.1. On a night like AG Hunter Cup night, it's hard to upstage the more accomplished horses, but he may well do that on Saturday night as we sink our teeth into the support card because he will be stepping out in the 4-year-old Bonanza. Adam, as I mentioned, we haven't seen him since the Breeders' Crown. He was scintillating. He will be at prohibitive odds in this race, but deservingly so.
The single greatest performance I have seen since Melton became the home of harness racing was Lochinvar winning this race, the 4-year-old Bonanza, about 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, the greatest performance is Captain Ravishing winning that Breeders' Crown. He was unbelievable. He is something right out of the box. There's no way we've seen the best of him yet because he just looks to be learning how to be a racehorse now. If you remember his first campaign back, he was all over the shop and he was beaten in the Derby and he looked around everywhere. But Dan Malecki, in many ways, I know your love for this horse. Are you looking more forward to his return than even the Hunter Cup?
I am, actually. Well, it's just what he can do, and I think what we're all excited by, not what he's done so far, but where he could end up getting to. The only other horse I could relate to speed like he's got might be a Christian Cullen, simply because Christian Cullen would cover the ground so well, but he goes from third gear to first gear and just bang, it's as if there's a turbo boost and he just takes off. I mean, Mark Pitt nearly got jolted out of the sulky when he asked him to go, and it's frightening to think that he can just keep going. He sat in the deaths for the majority of that race and ran a track record, so who knows? The track record's 148.6 over the short trip. I'm not saying they're out there to break the track record, but it might just happen because the horse makes the driver a passenger. He's elite, he's special, he's the most exciting horse in Australasia. And if someone thinks some other horse is, they need to put their hand up and put me back into place.
I think something that's important is he's got to win to get into the Chariots of Fire. Only a win will get him through. And also, it'll be his only race before the Chariots of Fire. So maybe they can find something else somewhere, but it's likely they're going to have to give him a really strong hit out in this race.
Anthony Butt, let's bring you back in here. Dan referenced a star horse of the past in Christian Cullen. Let me throw another star juvenile in there in Courage Under Fire, who you saw a lot of as well. He's pretty exciting when we're speaking about this one, Captain Ravishing, and in that sort of elite company. Where do you rate him in, as far as top 3 and 4-year-olds that you've seen in recent years?
His last few runs, Ryan, have been outstanding, and he's just got better and better, in the last 12 months. And, you can't go any better than what he went in the last time in the Breeders' Crown. So, very exciting horse, and, he's probably going to win this race pretty easy, and then, step up to the big boys in the Chariots and the Miracle Mile. So it'd be really great to see him, if he does get to the Miracle Mile.
Well, let's hope not too easy for your sake, Anthony, because you have Celesio Matuka, who's drawn barrier 3 in this particular race. Can you give him a bit of a chance?
Yeah, he's actually a really nice little horse. He's raced pretty well at the top level all his career and just been a step behind the real superstars. But, he sort of races well fresh, and he is coming in fresh into this race. And he's one of those horses, he can leave the gate really well sometimes, and if he does and finds the front, he seems better rolling along. So that'll be the plan. I said he's probably got to go 149, 150 to beat Captain Ravishing, if that's a bit of a dream. But, that's what we'll be aiming for anyway.
I reckon if this horse was completely sound and had the right preparations, Ant, I would have likened him on the same platform as a Bondi Lockdown as a really good horse, but we haven't necessarily seen the best of Celesio Matuka.
No, he's been a bit in and out, Dan. He's done some really good races. And, if he's back to his best, it's hard to see him beating Captain Ravishing, but he'll give a good sight for a long time.
I'm really interested in number 1, Invitation Only, in this race as well. Comes across with good New Zealand form from a really good stable, Crandall-Getty, but first run for Jason Grimson, who has been talking to me and others about this horse for 3 or 4 weeks. How quickly will it get out from barrier 1 and how good is it? We're going to find out, but I think it adds a little bit of an X factor to the race from the pole.
All right, let's move on to the Ladyship Cup. This is for the mares, and what a star bunch of ladies this is. Headlined by Tough Tilly. Look, there's no Ladies in Red who is her greatest adversary, but gee, in recent times, her greatest adversary has been Amore Vita, hasn't it, Adam? And These stablemates, though, the barrier draw may tell the tale here.
Yeah, and we get another clash between Doug's Babe and Tough Tilly as well from that terrific stoush. And I want to bring in Anthony Butt here because you were able to get the job done over Tough Tilly on New Year's Eve in the Vic Bred, but the draws are against you this time. It's going to be a little bit harder, Ant.
Yeah, that's right. And drew really good last time and got a great run and just everything worked out perfectly. So this week's going to be harder. You know, Tough Tilly, you know, I don't know what Tay-Tay's going to do. She's can get revved up and fired up and, you know, she'll may cross early and may stay in front. So Tough Tilly's got to sit outside her. So, yeah, it won't be easy for our girl, but she is flying and, you know, just done a great job with her and she's just got better and better and better.
There is a lot of gate speed, Ants. The horse drawn out wide, Celestial Fragrance, is a brilliant beginner. So short distance race, you'd want the speed on. And while Doug's Babe is a quick beginner, she's also very good chasing.
Yeah, she's probably better coming from behind Dan. As you see, she has got good gate speed as well. And so, yeah, just one of those races you won't be able to plan too much. You just see what's happening in the first 200 metres. And, you know, instead of Tay-Tay, you know, races like it has been lately and leads and runs along, you know, it's going to make it interesting and give us all a chance.
All right, and it's just on Doug's Babe. What's the plans with this horse? It was sold recently, wasn't it, to America?
Yep, she's going to America, I think the 14th of February, so the week after next. So this is the last start in Australia and she's heading up to Nifty Norman and I think he's aiming for the big Mares series at Yonkers. I think it kicks off sort of late March, April.
Well, there are a couple of key races on Saturday night. Now, on Friday night, it's a bumper weekend of harness racing in Victoria, and the Great Southern Star will highlight the program on Friday evening. Now, this is an intriguing series because there's two heats run on the same night with the final later in the same evening. Now, this is the first of the heats. Chinese Whisper, who's been absolutely flying at the moment. A little bit of a tricky draw from Barrier 1 here, Adam.
Might be the one draw they didn't want, Barrier 1.
Because there's good speed, isn't there, from Plymouth Chubb. Sleepy comes out as well. And Queen Elida, well, who knows what she can do. And then off the back row, we've got the Inter-Dominion champ, Just Believe. It's a ripper first heat.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one. And so much is going to depend on what Chinese Whisper does early on. But he's got to think there's enough speed that they'll get across Chinese Whisper. And that is potentially tricky then for Just Believe following out as well. So, I mean, Queen Elida is a clear favourite here, but I couldn't take really short odds.
And Dan, this series is, as I mentioned, a really unique one, and tactics play a major part over the shorter trip, don't they?
Oh, they do, particularly with qualifying. They've got to run for the second time later on, but they've got to run the time. The first gets through and then it's the next quickest. So you've got to rely on, with a bad draw like a Just Believe here, it's important, Greg, he might have to try to weave a path through to put the pressure on and make sure they run time quick enough for a number of those horses to get through. Otherwise, it might only be the winner getting through.
Now, the second heat is also an absolute belter. Mufasa Metro, who competed as a place getter in the Inter-Dominion series, a quick beginner, comes up with Barrier 1, but is he as quick as number 2 Majestic Man? I don't think so. Then you've got Majestuoso, who also competed in that Inter-Dominion series, a quick beginner from 3. And I haven't even touched on Aldebaran Zeus, Adam. This is a field and a half, isn't it?
The Triple M's, Mufasa Metro, Majestic Man, Majestuoso.
Good luck calling that, Dan.
All with good gate speed and all drawn nicely, but Aldebaran Zeus only knows one way and it's going to have to get right up in the scrum as well. It's in career best form, Aldebaran Zeus, but I'm not ruling out Majestuoso even being a chance of getting across them as well if it was right on its A game from Barrier 3, but it's a confusing race, Dan.
It is. It's great. I'm really looking forward to this. I think there might be a slight advantage being in the second heat, though, because you would know the times from the previous heat and the horses that have got through. So there would be a cut-off line to know how hard they're going to have to go. So I reckon advantage is with heat number 2. So if they've gone fast in the first heat, that means they're going to have to go much faster in the second heat. And I reckon that's exciting.
And Anthony, you have Don't Care in that second heat. Its chances in that heat, and indeed your thoughts on the Great Southern Star as the one to beat overall.
Yeah, Don't Care is a really nice horse. He's just new to the top level, and you know the draws hurt him a little bit, but he has got good gate speed, and with Aldebaran Zeus outside him, you know there could be a chance to push forward. And, but I think there's a lot of speed inside. You know, I think Majestic Man will lead, and he's very quick off the gate when they want him to be, and Brad always sort of runs along with him. So I think they'll go pretty quick in this. And, Jesse Oso sitting outside him, there may be no death for anyone else. So it's going to be really interesting, that first sort of 300 to 400 metres. And, I definitely think this is a stronger heat by far.
And do you think Majestic Man, a horse who you've had a lot to do with as a driver, is the one to beat for the Great Southern Star overall?
Yeah, I think so, Ryan. He's short distances and a good horse from the Mobile. So, he backed up pretty good in this race a couple of years ago. I don't think that'll worry him. So, yeah, I think if he can, lead it, it's his race to lose in the heat. And then just whether, he gets a good draw in the final, he can back up and do the same again.
Well, Anthony, good luck in the Great Southern Star on Friday night, but more importantly, going for your 8th AG Hunter Cup on Saturday night. A terrific chance with Rock and Roll Do, and in fact, a few key chances on the evening in general. And we appreciate you joining us on racing.com on the Hunter Cup preview show.
No, pleasure, guys, anytime.
Anthony Butt joining us there. We're going to take a break, and on the other side, Adam Hamilton, Dan Malecki and myself will give you our final thoughts for the AG Hunter Cup, brought to you by Delray National. Well, we've gone through the field. Now it's time to find the winner for the Delray National AG Hunter Cup. Not an easy task because the field this year is certainly of high quality. Adam, which way are you going?
Look, I'm going with Copy That. I think he's the best horse in Australasia right now. He is drawn reasonably well, and Anthony Butt has certainly boosted my confidence. So I'm going Copy That, but I will be having a saver on the Enigma Expensive Ego at around that sort of $8-9 mark.
I like Copy That. I think we're comfortable. We're seeing the best of him now. I can see him working his way to the lead. I think he's the best horse in the race, and that's why I think he'll win. Spirit of St Louis can run a terrific race, and Honolulu Bay is going super, and I want to have him in the mix as well.
Well, he's my top tip, Dan. Honolulu Bay. I think the local flavour of Emma Stewart will come to the fore here. He was terrific through the Inter-Dominion Series, and his run in the Ballarat Cup, I thought, was nearly the run of the race. Hopefully you can join us for our racing.com coverage on channel 68 and 78 from 5:55 on Saturday, and also on Trots Vision. That's the trots.com.au. Look forward to having your company for the Delray National AG Hunter Cup. Until then, bye for now.